Ohio State stays undefeated with a win against Michigan. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Slasher U. I'm your host, Christian Rao, here with my co-host, Steve Feck. We're going to break down number 3 Ohio State beating number 14 Michigan. Ohio State stays undefeated. They win 66-57. This was a great game. Obviously, anytime you get Michigan versus Ohio State in anything, it's always something to pay attention to. Ohio State going 15-0. I mean, this is something that's really impressive here, Steve. Take me through this game. And before you take me through it, I got a quick look for you. This is the number 3 team in the country at 15-0. When will we see Ohio State jump Stanford to number 2?
I think this ranking. Ooh. That's how solid a defensive game that Ohio State played against Michigan. So perhaps Ryan Day can start looking at some women's basketball defensive strategies so that perhaps he can then apply them into the 2023 Big Ten football season. But smart. Ohio State in fact, I'm going to go out and say they are the best defensive team in the country on the women's side. And that includes South Carolina. That includes, a lot of really good defensive programs. Ohio State far and above. They're aggressive. They pressure you at the half court, in the full court. Yeah. They force turnovers. They create scoring opportunities. In transition. Ohio State, for me, because of how well and how stingy their defense is, I think they're the number 2 team in the country, and that's not a knock against Stanford. Stanford's got a lot of talent there. I don't know that they're maximizing it all the time. Ohio State is the second best team in the country right now, and it's because of the way they play defense.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, and we've seen them play some really tough teams and beat them quite well, too. Like we saw them with a big win over Oregon earlier in December. They won 84-67. Oregon was ranked 16th at the time. And then obviously they beat 14th ranked Michigan 66-57. This Ohio State team is really good. This isn't one of those walk in the park things where, yeah, they're undefeated, got you. Because I know there's some other undefeated teams in the rankings right now. One that's just like sliding in, for example, St. John's. But this is a completely different conversation here. Ohio State is one of those teams that now I understand if you're not going to outrank South Carolina, the defending champions, as long as South Carolina stays undefeated. I get that. I completely understand why the AP does so. Got you. However, Stanford did lose a game. Yes, they did lose to South Carolina. But Ohio State hasn't had any reason to prove why they shouldn't be number 2 right now. Because of the wins against Michigan, because of the wins against Oregon. And, the big win against Tennessee at the beginning of the year was big too. All right. That was a big win. Now, obviously, Tennessee struggled, but that was something to keep in mind. They beat Louisville at the beginning of the year. So, they've won multiple top 25 matchups, and they have not lost yet. Something to keep in mind moving forward. If we see the rankings come out and Ohio State is number 2, I will be pleasantly surprised. However, I'm not going to hold my breath on it because I think the AP has a little love for Stanford, and I think they're going to keep that one going for a little bit longer. But I do think it's overdue. That's my thought process in that one. I think Ohio State should be ranked number 2. I don't know if it will happen, but it's over.
Yeah, well, we're pretty critical of the AP and how they kind of give you more credit for what you did as opposed to what you're doing. But now we're in conference play now. So that's where I'm a little bit more confident that there's going to be a couple of people that are voting in the AP poll that aren't going to be completely lazy and is going to give the Lady Buckeyes their due. And that's where I think where it might get there. And if it's not this week, it's going to happen. As much as I love teams like Iowa, I think that Illinois is very, very good, this year. Michigan was ranked 14. They're no slouch. Ohio State is just that good. And I'm going to go out and maybe stretch my neck out a little bit. I think Ohio State has the most valuable player in the Big Ten. Not the best player in the Big Ten, but the most valuable player in the Big Ten right now is Taylor Michelson. Transferred back, she comes back home to her native Ohio. She played at Massillon. I actually saw her in a women's tournament, and she was just terrific. Nice, a little on the shorter side for today's game. But, she's just a terrific guard. She is as valuable to the defensive scheme and certainly offensively than any other player. And I'm going to include Caitlin Clark. And I love me some Caitlin Clark. But as far as most valuable to their team's performance as of right now, I think Taylor Michelson is that player. She didn't shoot for a high percentage, but she also was not gun shy. She's not afraid to take that shot. It does not spill over onto her defensive play and with her distribution skills. So, I really think that Ohio State has something special. I think her coming in from Oregon through the transfer portal, and she spent time at Maryland too, but coming in from Oregon to come back home, I think we always talk about that missing piece on whether it be football, whatever team it is. I think she is that missing piece for Ohio State. And I think it was obvious early on. And again, she's not blowing up the stat sheet, but it's a different team, I think, that I remember seeing last year. I really think that Ohio State, now that I've watched them play multiple times, now I'm really wondering, how did we miss it? How did a lot of college basketball fans miss the fact that the Ohio State Lady Buckeyes are this good?
Yeah, and they look to go the 16-0 on Thursday as they take on Minnesota, who's 8-6, and then on Sunday we're going to see them face Illinois, who's 13-2. That's another really tough game in the Big Ten. The Big Ten's no walk in the park this year. Obviously, they have Indiana, who just got their first loss just last week, but for the longest time they had two undefeated teams in the Big Ten. We will see Ohio State and Indiana take on each other at the month in January. That was something that I was going to ask if Indiana didn't have the loss. Will it take that game to make Ohio State jump Stanford if Ohio State was beat Indiana? I hope it doesn't take that long. Now, granted, we're taking everything out of proportion here with Stanford. We know Stanford's a good team. They play top ranked opponents as well. But if you're undefeated and you're playing ranked opponents and you have one loss and you're at number 2, then maybe you should be number 3. Just little thoughts. Let us know your thoughts in the comment description below. Where does Ohio State rank in your top 25? Are they number 2? Are they number 3? Hell, are they even number 1? Let us know your thoughts in the comment description below. Hit like and subscribe while you're there. And thanks for watching Slasher U.